it going? I'm Nick.
I'm Dave.
I'm Connor.
I'm Bobby.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Sean.
We are Somerset.
And this is the #1 podcast in Hawaii, the Kasanova Podcast.
Kasanova Podcast, the #1 podcast in Hawaii, is brought to you by these contributors on Patreon. If you'd like to see more content like this more often, as well as more podcast reviews, impressions, early access releases, live streams, and original content, then consider becoming a patron today. All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and I'm coming at you with another phenomenal interview. And in today's episode, we have the true honor and privilege of having the first ever and exclusive interview with the hottest band in the rock and music scene, and that band is Somerset. Now, if you haven't heard of Somerset, I really don't know where you've been. You need to get out of the rock that you're living under and just go and listen to this group's amazing music, because the band just has such great tracks, such as their debut song Phoenix, and also their song River Street, which was the follow-up to Phoenix. And it's melodic, it's thematic, it gets you going. It's one of those songs, both songs actually, are songs that literally pick you up and they take you on this journey as music used to do. Not in its current era, but like it used to do. And this is how you can tell the mark of a true musician, when they're able to tell a story with a song. And every song on this band's album is melodic and tells an absolute amazing story. So, you ready to do it? I'm ready to do it. Let's go ahead and welcome the band members of Somerset Band. The band members being Nick Aikens, David Apostolides, Bobby Borenstein, Jake Damphousse, Connor Milligan, and Sean Silva. Let's welcome them all onto the show.
Signs will pass, signs will point to me. But it's clearly something I just don't see. I didn't see it early. It's like I was waiting for you to call.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and I have the honor and privilege of having the amazing, truly amazing band Somerset here on the show. Guys, introduce yourselves, tell people where they can find you, tell them about your music, and do your own, let's get some introductions from each and every one of you so the audience can get familiar with you.
Take it away. So I'm Nick. I'm the vocalist.
Dave on keys. Connor, bass and backing vocals.
Okay.
Bobby, guitar.
Jake, drums.
And Sean, also guitar.
Awesome, man. And tell people where they can find you guys on social media.
So we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We are on Spotify as of a couple of months ago now. We got 2 singles out there, and we're releasing our first album on November 24th.
You go to somersetband.com for all the handles because they're different. We couldn't get the same one across the board, but somersetband.com will get you all those information.
Definitely. And, you know, and that's the hardest thing too, is when you're trying to like have that universal branding across the board. Like it's even for me, like when I'm trying to have just Mekel Kasanova across the board, a lot of times it's like, nope, somebody else is using it, and I have to DM them like, hey, change your handle. So I can have it.
We've reached out to @Somerset on Instagram a couple of times.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of the show and you're watching, we've DM'd you.
Oh man, let's go ahead and get some of your backgrounds, for each and every one of you, how you each got into music and some of your hobbies. Like, yeah, let's just do a round table.
Yeah. Nick, you want to start?
So I actually started with a lot of theater background.
Mhm.
I started theater. I started at Suffolk as a theater major. That's how I met Connor.
Mhm.
And we eventually started this.
Yeah, we got kind of like an interweaving web of relationships on kind of how we all met. So
Yeah.
myself, Connor, Jake, and Sean all went to Suffolk.
Oh wow.
Me and Jake lived together our freshman year. We joined, like the school house band there. Connor joined the following year, and then Sean joined, and we all started playing together. And then between Connor's, knowing Nick and knowing Bobby by playing in bands, we kind of all linked up for 4th of July show.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how we started Somerset.
Huh.
It was just kind of all these people, coming together, knowing each other in different ways.
Cool.
Yeah, in terms of like your musical background, where you
Me, I mean, I've played keyboard my whole life, and I linked up with Jake and Connor, and we formed a band. So I just started taking it more seriously and playing a lot more, and just kind of grew with these guys.
Dave's a pretty amazing keyboard player. I also lived with Dave my sophomore year in college, and it was basically like we would just be chilling in our apartment, and I'll be like, "Hey, can you play this song?" And he would listen to it like once, then just be like, "Oh yeah, I can play it. I got it." Yeah. In terms of my background, I played bass in summer. It's actually the instrument that I picked up the shortest amount of time ago. I started off on piano, then saxophone, and picked up guitar eventually.
Mhm.
And in college, when we were playing in the house band at Suffolk together, we needed a bass player. I picked up for pretty cheap off of a friend, and that just kind of eventually became what I really liked playing, and what I kind of progressed on the fastest.
Awesome.
In terms of my background, I mean, ever since I was a kid, music has been something I've been fascinated with. And, when I was younger, I would beg and plead with my parents, buy me a guitar, buy me some guitar lessons. It didn't end up happening until probably when I was like 10 or 12.
Mhm.
I started playing. I was the classic, like, oh, I want to learn all these Led Zeppelin songs, and I love rock music. There's no good music other than rock. The classic middle school. And then, when I hit high school, I started seeing shows out. I started going to music festivals, and I said to myself, I'm like, wow, that looks like a lot of fun.
Mhm.
It's just like, that's something I could do with my guitar playing. So then senior year of high school, I had a big change in where I wanted to go to school. I swapped from a nursing school to Berklee College of Music.
Mhm.
Got accepted. And I've been there for 3 years now. Last year, my roommate used to play with Connor over here. My roommate needed me to grab something and bring it down to the rehearsal room. Ended up jamming with him for about 10 minutes. He asked me to play on the 4th of July show, and next thing you know, we wrote a record, and we're here. Honestly, I kind of have epiphanies every day of like, oh my God, this really happened. Like, we're here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess my background, Jake, for anyone listening, I started playing drums really young. I tried playing piano, and I didn't like the teacher, so I stopped. And then I figured, okay, I could just bang drums without having to take lessons. So for a while,
Did your piano teacher like whack your hands if you got a key note wrong?
He kept telling me to curl my fingers, and I didn't want to do that. So,
Oh, you're lucky. When I was playing piano, my teacher always whacked our hands if we did one thing wrong. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done with it.
On your textbook, How Not to Teach Something.
So yeah, but then I went to the exact opposite of the music spectrum and just started like banging drums and making really terrible noise.
Mm-hmm.
After a couple of years, I guess it started to turn from less terrible to a little bit more of musical.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played baseball for most of my youth into college. That's how Dave and I actually met, through the baseball team. So it was always a very like a big passion that I had, but
Mm-hmm.
it never was on the front. And then a couple injuries, a couple decisions later, I decided to just really take music as serious as I could. And then obviously the house band happened, and then we all met, and kind of here we are.
Awesome.
And yeah, so Sean here. I've always been interested in music and guitar from a young age. I think I picked up my first guitar when I was about 11 years old. I was able to start taking lessons pretty quickly after that, and I played through high school in the bands through the rehearsal studio that I was taking lessons at, which was pretty fun. And then when I got to school, I kind of fell to the back burner for the first year until Jake reached out to me and asked if I was interested in trying out for the house band. I was rusty getting back into it, but the first song that we picked up was Foreplay Long Time by Boston, and learned that, practiced with them, and we haven't really looked back since. Since we graduated, we wanted to keep this going, and we brought Nick and Bobby on. We're Somerset now. Good to be happy with it.
Awesome. And like, what was the, when you guys were coming together trying to figure out your sound and like style and the name for your band, did it just happen like organically where you guys were just like jamming together? And then, because like, okay, I have a background in music too. I used to have a band called Edge of Reason like a decade and a half ago. So I was lead guitarist, rhythm guitarist, and a lot of times when I would just go and play with people, it was just a jam session. The music just took us on that trip. So I was just wondering, is that the same thing that happened to you guys, or was it completely different?
Well, in terms of the name, so we were Somerset initially,
okay.
And it was kind of as a result of the fact that we practiced on Somerset, and that is the origin behind the name. But we spent about a year trying to figure out if that's the name that we wanted, and we were like, Somerset's who we are now, but we want to think of something else, who are we really, trying to find something that really fit.
Trying to find something badass.
Crazy, but fast forward a year, nothing's coming up naturally or organically, so we're like, why don't we just stick with Somerset?
It's really hard to agree on a name.
To clarify, it's really hard to get 6 dudes to agree on just about anything.
Yeah.
So true.
It's the same for our logo too.
Yeah.
We had this like original mock-up of a logo that Jake made in Photoshop on one of like the computers at school.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through the same kind of process of trying to be like edgy or like cool with our logo, and the logo would obviously come after the name. So the whole name and logo debate just kind of went on. And once we decided Somerset really works, we were actually like in the studio recording the album, and we like looked at the logo that we had. We were just like, yeah, we might as well keep this. We hired one of my friends, Marissa, who's an awesome graphic designer, to kind of do a reboot of the logo. She gave us a bunch of awesome variations, even a couple animations. It really kind of helped us refine our visual style. But the logo is essentially the same as kind of our first iteration of it.
Awesome. And like with the with your sound, because you guys have definitely a unique sound when it comes to your music. How did you guys come up with that? Like with your uniqueness?
I think it's really finding puzzle pieces from each of our influences, just kind of saying, all right, how does this work with that?
Mm-hmm.
Nick, I think Connor and I come from a really heavy background, like a lot of metal stuff.
Yeah.
Bobby comes from that. Bobby and Sean come from that blues, classic rock. Dave has like a theatrical video game music,
Cinematic.
like And then Nick's got like pop, but he's also got rock. So it's almost like, all right, this is the first bit that we have. Then we build around it. Each person kind of throws in their own 2 cents, and then all of the little things from each of our influences kind of shine in their own spots. I don't know if anyone else.
Yeah, I think with this first record, it's self-titled Somerset, and I think it really speaks to the music on there, which was just kind of like a representation of each of us. This is the time that we wrote together, and you kind of see that. I think the record kind of goes a lot of places, and there's not really, like just one sound on there. And I think that kind of just speaks to, kind of all of us coming through, in our first process of writing together.
And I think it's important to point out too, and to just touch on the fact that, like, just like anything else, when we first got in the room together to try and write all of this stuff, you have like 6 creative minds trying to put themselves into one project. And that was just like, for the first couple months, it was like almost too many cooks in the kitchen, that we didn't have that forward momentum at first, because it was like, okay, how do we work with each other? How do, a bunch of creative minds together, it can be a lot at times, but we were all coming into the room with our own separate ideas. Some of us had our own material already. Some of us had written stuff in the past that we brought to the table. And then there was just kind of, I think we hit about November, and it was just, suddenly we hit our stride. We all kind of found each other's wavelength. And it was probably between November and January that most of the record really came together, because we finally, after months of really just trying to workshop ourselves and figure out, okay, where do we want to go with this? It kind of, despite the roadblocks and despite anything that might have been impeding us, it kind of came very naturally, because we didn't really, in the end, think about it too much. It was just like, oh, wow. It was almost like we shut our eyes for a few months and then opened it, and it was like, oh, we have this awesome record all of a sudden.
Awesome. And like the process with your songs, and I've only heard 2, but when it comes to Phoenix and River Street, with those 2 songs, what was the process that came with creating the lyrics and the rhythm, the flow of it? Because I'll say this, because it's rare for me to listen to any song these days, and I'm not trying to throw shade, but a lot of songs in this modern era kind of suck. But I mean, coming from a musician standpoint, I have to say that. But with the songs that you guys have, the 2 that I've heard, I'm able to just, like, the song just grips you and it takes you on the journey. And I haven't heard music as good as yours in at least a decade and a half. And it's just trippy, because I'm so used to listening to old school rock. I'm just, not even trying to blow smoke up your guys' butt. I'm just being serious. Like, your music is gripping. Like, it grabs you and it takes you on this journey. And like, by the time the song is done, you're like, I don't want to get off the ride, So.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
I guess we could start with Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix was this product of 2 demos that were not working on their own. So I think, at least for, I'd say, all but one, I don't know about Space I'm Wasting, the music came first, and then the lyrics were kind of either written to the song or written like based on the way the song made you feel. So with Phoenix, there were 2 demos that were not working on their own, and then kind of heard that there was like some similarities that we could fit part A of one into part B of the other, and then so that would come together, and then we kind of pushed them together and then brought them into the writing session, and Bobby just was like, wait a minute, and then he just like took 10 minutes and most of the lyrics were written.
Well, like, sorry to cut you off, but like what happened with that for me, at least from a lyrical standpoint, was in the choruses of Phoenix, the Who Lit the Flame part of the song was its own demo at one point musically. And either Dave or Jake, whoever brought it in, brought that demo in. the phrase "Who lit the flame" came into my head hearing just that part of the demo. So then when they came in with this full instrumentation with that demo plus the other demo that wasn't working, I kind of just, what happens to me sometimes in these situations is I just have to sit there and let it loop and sing and sing and sing and think and just let a stream of consciousness flow out.
Mhm.
And a lot of Phoenix came out in one of the first stream of consciousness I really had with these guys was just that song came out of us. That was honestly a real telltale moment, I think, for all of us, that we were like, oh, wow, we can do this.
Yeah.
Like, we did this.
We've never really seen Bobby like go into that like kind of state before. He just got like super focused because we're all pretty much like some pretty goofy dudes. We like go at our practices, but it was kind of the first moment where Bobby got really serious, and we like I thought personally,
It's
I
all
don't
the
know
other
about
times.
anyone else, but it was really cool to see it. It's very accurate that it was in about like 10 minutes we probably had a rough iteration of what the lyrics are now.
Wow. I mean, like I said, it's from those two songs alone, I'm sold. I want your album already.
Just about a week away.
I know. And the other thing, like speaking of that, with your album being that close to being released, like how does it feel? Like how does it feel knowing that it's about to be released fully to the public? And
I cannot
we can't wait.
And it's not for the fact that like I don't even know how to describe it. Like I'm not it actually is. It's a release. Like it's a relieving feeling, just because some of these songs are over like 2 years old, and it's just for people to finally hear them done, and like it's almost like, all right, now let's move on, and not in a bad way of like, all right, we're done with these, but we're done with these.
It gives us the headspace, to kind of be able to like now think to the future, because for the last year, this album, before it was even an album, before there were even a collection of songs worth being put into an album, this was our goal. So now it's like we're approaching the deadline of that goal. We've completed our goal. So now it's like, okay, this is the last step, is getting it out there. And then from there, we kind of have an open season almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also got to say a huge shout out to Will Holland over at Chill House Studios for helping to bring our songs to life. We were in the studio for, what was it?
The first batch of hours was like 50 hours.
whoa.
But he made the process so easy for us, and we got to play with a lot of his pretty sick instruments and use them on the record. So that was a really, really awesome experience. So definitely check out Chill House Records and Studios.
Cool story about that, actually. I just think this would be nice to add to this.
Go for it.
The guy that produced our record actually used to own the shop in Melrose, Massachusetts, the music shop that I learned to play guitar. So the reason I knew of him was because he owned the place and then gave it to my teacher when he went to open a studio. He opened that studio, gained traction, and then when it came time for us to record a record, I was like, wait, I know a guy. So I reached out to him, and he was just like, oh, man, I haven't seen you in like 10 years. What's going on? I was just like, record our record, please. That was awesome. So, a really cool full circle moment of just like coming back to one of the first musicians I really ever met to record the record,
Cool. And let's talk about like where you guys recorded at Chill House Records. Like, what was that like? Describe that to the audience.
Tiring. I mean, Chill House Studios is a great space. But yeah, we did 50 hours originally. We did Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 11 to like 11 to 9. Each did Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We took a weekend off. Then we went back for another Saturday, Sunday. And by Sunday night when we were leaving, we were in a very, very good spot. We were very close to being done. And basically from there, it was just a couple more sessions of like a few hours apiece to finally kind of get everything to the place that we wanted it to be. And then, mixing and mastering, he was sending us the tracks the whole time, being like, do you guys like this? Do you like the direction that this is going in? And yeah, and the end result will be coming out in a week or so.
Not to mention the unstoppable performance of our lead singer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and his vocal cords completed that record in record time, no pun intended. But he just slaughtered it, absolutely killed it.
I agree, man. You have amazing vocals, literally. Well, so with you guys are gonna have your album release show, which is gonna be at the Thunder Road Music Club in Somerville, Massachusetts. Like, how are you all preparing for this event? Like, are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you all of the above plus more? Like, how's that going?
We're stoked. I mean,
definitely.
we've had the opportunity to play our music at a bunch of venues, in Boston. We're trying to branch out more in that area, but we're just really excited to play the record from start to finish and just, kind of give that live performance to the songs that we've been working on for so long. And, we're hoping for a packed house and just finally being able to put them out there and, just perform, because that's what we want to do. That's the goal.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Do you guys have like plans for like nationwide tour or international tour? We need to make this happen. I'm sorry. It needs to happen.
Please give me an excuse to leave my day job.
I think that goes for all of us.
I wish we were playing a nationwide tour. If you know people that would come to a nationwide tour, please.
Yeah. Like the goal, I think the goal for all of us, is to entertain. We want, and we're happy to hear that our music is, it's entertaining for people. And, I think the goal behind all of it is just to be performers and put on a show.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the goal behind music in general, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what we want to do.
Yeah. No, we're starting locally, but our plans are to take this thing on the road eventually.
Sky's the limit.
But to Dave's point of kind of just like making people feel things with our music, one of the moments for me where I was like, wow, this could be something. We were actually down in Falmouth, Massachusetts at the Cape Cod Curling Club.
Mhm.
We're hired out by Kathy Maloney of the Performing Arts Office at Suffolk University, Go Rams, who is a member down there. It was a small room. We walked in being like, uh-oh, this is a small room. These people might not like our music, so on and so forth. We had so many things running through our heads. But there was this moment where we were playing one of our kind of more ballady songs, Lights or Dreamer, one of the ones that's going to be on the record. And some people started actually dancing to it, kind of slow dancing in front of us. That was a moment where I was like, okay, no, we can actually make people move with these songs. We can make people feel things and kind of get a response from an audience. So that was pretty cool.
Definitely. How did you guys finalize 13 tracks for your album? Because I know that's one of the hardest parts when you're coming together as a band or as an artist or musician as a whole, is trying to decide how many songs, because you can either put too many, too little, or just right. And I feel like with 13, that was perfect, because I know other musicians that have put we've got 22 tracks on this album, and it's that's too much.
I think it was just we wrote 13. There were 13. I mean, there were definitely some songs that never got past demo stage, but I think for the most part, once we really dove in with lyrics, 13 were written, and we just did our best to make 13 of them album ready.
Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of the our process for that was, we were making changes and, nitpicking and tweaking up until, the week before we were going in the studio.
Even in the studio.
In between, but, it was just, we have these songs, can we get them to a level that we think is good enough to be on the record? And that was kind of our criteria, our process for doing that.
and once we had gotten the songs to a point that they were performable as a group, then we came to like the entirety of the period between like January and the end of March, where we were just running the entire record over and over again, tightening up every part. I mean, changes were made on almost every rehearsal. You know, we would be playing and we'd be like, oh, maybe this would sound cool here, this would sound cool here, that'd sound better there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then we had played that record so much that by the time we got to the studio, it was like, we had almost already been like, okay, when's the next album? You know, like already gotten so much mileage out of the songs.
I think there's one song that was very close to not making it, and then about a week before we changed up some of the vocals and like the structure of the end of the song, and personally think it's like one of the more strong tracks on the album now, and that's all just because our guy Nick over here holds a note for like 35 seconds. It's just,
How do you do that?
that was an exaggeration.
You know.
It feels like
Yeah, there you go. Lungs of steel.
So I mean, I also had asked this to you, Nick. Like, what is your practice when it comes to like prepping your vocals? Like, do you have like a ritual or any type of pre-recording style?
For practice, I like to smoke a nice cigarette before I go. But I will say for the studio, I definitely made sure to wake up and drink my tea, get some honey, you know, do the vocal warm-ups, because it really does help a lot. I probably should do it more, but yeah, definitely help a lot for the recording.
Cool. So, you know, with this being said, like, you guys have, you know, the album is about to drop. You got 13 tracks on it. You guys are already in the mindset of the next album. Where and when are you thinking? Like a year from now, year and a half? How long do you think you guys are gonna run the Somerset debut album in your minds?
That's a good question.
How long are we going to run them?
I had to throw a loaded question.
I figure, and anyone in here can correct me if I'm wrong, I figure we're going to keep playing that album until people don't want to hear it anymore.
Okay.
And until we don't want to hear it anymore, you know, until we want to start pushing ourselves a little farther than that record. I mean, we're kind of always writing and always thinking, you know. A lot of us, when we get home from work, are sitting down with our guitars or our drums or our keyboard or voices, and we're sitting there and we're coming up with new ideas, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's only, I mean, I think we're gonna play this record out a lot because we want as many people to hear it as physically possible. But I feel like we'll also know when the right time will be to like kind of take a step back from playing out and start coming up with the new material.
Okay.
it's also fun to play. Like,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of these, there are definitely songs, like if we do some covers, that I'll find myself like in the bridge just kind of zoning out. But I feel like with our originals, it's just they move and they keep you focused and they're fun to play. So I don't think they would ever get old to play. Like it's a nice challenge every time we play.
Yeah, we're always looking for ways to make our performances unique, you know, from show to show, you know, changing up things here or there, you know, ending differently, doing all that. So, you know, I mean, it keeps it fresh for us too, because, you know, we've played these so many times now. And just in the studio alone, you know, being in that space and for 50 hours thinking about nothing but these tracks, you know, it's cool for us to kind of add new textures and new colors and new things to the music.
Awesome.
So we'll give them their due diligence, you know.
All right, you know, winding down to the last couple questions, I got to ask you guys, how does it feel knowing you have fans in Hawaii on the other side of the country?
That's, yeah.
Bananas.
I mean, I just remember when we first put out Phoenix, that was when, you know, you and I first connected.
Yeah.
I just saw that you shared my brother Nick's post, who I'm sure people on here know as Leon. And I just reached out, and I was so excited that you shared it. I just wanted to thank you, man. So it was super cool.
Yeah, being someone who hasn't about as far west as I've been is Chicago. As far as I've been out of the country is Montreal. So pretty exciting knowing that our music is getting around.
Now we have a reason to come to Hawaii.
Yeah,
so that's
right.
what
Right?
Don't make me go.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, if you guys come out here to Hawaii, like, you're more than welcome to stay. I have a huge 3.5, almost 4-bedroom house, and like every voice actor or video game developer or musician that comes out here that I know, they're always staying in my house because I'm literally 5 minutes from Waikiki, 5 minutes from the hike, and 5 minutes from the shopping area. So I'm literally in the middle of everything, and it's like.
You have anything in February, January?
Yeah,
Hey,
when it gets cold here in Boston.
Oh, it's terrible.
So I gotta.
Don't forget about us.
Nah. Anytime you guys come out here, it's part of our Aloha spirit. Anytime you want to come out here, just let me know. You got a place to stay.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. So speaking of that, yeah, I know I asked this before we started the recording, but I'm gonna ask it again. So when are we gonna see you guys perform out here in Hawaii? Who do I need to talk to get in touch with you guys to make this happen? Because your music, I guarantee if you played out here, you would sell out every single show. Because anytime we've had a band out here, and it just sells out. Any artist, any album. But I think especially when it comes to the music you guys have created, it would definitely resonate. I mean, we're gonna have people with their lighters going back and forth, with their phones going back and forth. We're gonna have people, we're gonna have the ravers come in with their strobe lights. It's just gonna start a wave. It's gonna be insane.
Yeah, no, that would be our manager, Katie Camuzio, friend of Bobby's here, music business student at Berkeley. Picked her up probably when in January,
February.
yeah. She's been great so far with helping us stay in line with booking gigs, keeping our finances under control, and everything, kind of everything in between.
Just have her start booking flights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna probably today.
And just the sheer fact of managing 6 goofballs.
Yeah.
She does a good
She has
job.
a lot of
She
patience.
does a great job.
She's the proverbial glue that holds everything together.
Yes.
But yeah, if anyone ever wants to reach us for any sort of booking or just to contact us, you can reach out to like we said at the beginning, somersetband.com.
That is it.
Go on there, find all of our handles. You can reach us at any sort of message board there, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or direct emails.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should give out her email now.
It's on the website.
Yeah.
Especially for gigs in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Definitely reach out.
Okay, so I'll get all the contact information, just shoot it to you guys, and then because I think you guys definitely need to be out here for a show. I would love to see it.
That'd be awesome.
With that being said, one of my other questions I wanted to ask you guys is, actually, is your manager there? I was going to ask, like, how did you guys come to meet her? I know we kind of glanced over that, but what is her work, like her day-to-day work when it comes to managing you guys?
I can't particularly comment on her day-to-day. Just me and her we've been in school together at Berkeley since January of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been one of my best friends since. I went into the songwriting major. She went into the music business major, which is why I reached out to her to begin with when we needed management, or when we were getting to the point where I was like, okay, we need someone else holding all of us down. Yeah, we need help. But like I said, I can't really speak to exactly what she does on a day-to-day just because I'm not exactly sure. But I can tell you, based on her work ethic, she's super organized. She's super hardworking. She had never really managed before she had managed us. And we all went into it with that expectation. It's like, hi, we've never been managed. Will you manage us? Considering, And for her, it was like, oh, yeah, this sounds great for experience. And she has just taken to it like crazy. I mean, she has been in contact with every booker of every show we've had. You know, she's at every show selling T-shirts, promoting us. You know, she's all we could have asked for in a first manager and then some. You know,
Awesome. And are you guys independent artists, or are you signed to a label? Are you looking to sign? Just want to get your feedback on that.
We are currently totally independent. Put everything out basically ourselves, financed everything ourselves. I wouldn't say we're like going to sign the first deal that we saw if we got one, but
Don't do that. I did that before. It was not a good idea.
we would consider.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
definitely top of mind.
it'd be rad to get a record deal.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah, a good one.
All right. So winding down, what is something you'd like to leave the audience with before we go?
I would love to just say, like, every time we play, I want someone to kind of leave and say, wow, have that thought, like, okay, I want to go find their music somewhere. I want to go explore what else they offer. And that doesn't go for us. I think that's personally what I strive for. I can't speak for them. But even when I go see a show, I want something. It doesn't have to be the entire band. It doesn't even have to be the entire show. Even if it's just one song where for a bridge and a chorus or something, they are just perfectly in sync, or someone is just doing something so incredible. I think that should be the goal of every music performance.
Yeah, and just going off of that, you know, since we've been gigging together, one of the cooler moments for me, we played a gig at Winnikinny Castle in Haverhill, Mass. And we played Phoenix for one of the songs. So after the show, we were breaking down. It's a great charity event for a couple locals in Haverhill. And one of the guys that was working the event came over, and he was asking us about Phoenix and, you know, about the origin of the music and, you know, how we came up, you know, with the story and the lyrics and everything. And he showed us a tattoo of a phoenix on his shoulder. Said he had it in memory of his son who passed away. And he just said he felt such a personal connection to the song, and, you know, he thanked us for performing it. And for me, it's moments like that where, you know, you get it, like, the deeper meaning of music, which is like, you want to form connections, and you want people to be, you know, to feel something when they hear the music. So that, you know, that is kind of my goal. It's just, you know, it's that human aspect and that, like, connectivity that you can get with music when it, you know, it just transcends a little bit.
Yeah.
That was one of the cooler moments for me.
Yep. We've all, you know, we've all had songs or albums or artists in the past that, like, make us cry, make us feel something, you know, listening to it in our car by ourselves, you know, had a bad day, and then you hear it and you cry and you feel good afterwards. You know, you had something to identify with and to make you feel like you're not alone in what you're feeling. You know what I mean? And for me, and I'm sure for everyone I'm sitting with, and you on your end too, you know, music is that emotional outlet for a lot of people. It allows the silent person to feel heard. It allows the lonely person to feel like they have someone with them. You know what I mean? And as someone who spent a lot of my childhood reliant on the emotional support that music would give me, the only thing, or what I want to leave this podcast with is that, like, all we want to do is have that impact on someone, to make someone's day better, to make someone feel a little less lonely, to someone feel like, hey, you know what? It's worth getting up today. It's worth going to work today, going to school today, you know, going to class. You know, all we want to do is have an impact on somebody. Doesn't matter the scale.
Yeah, definitely. And I lied. I got two more questions for you guys just because it just popped in my head.
Ask away.
All right. So I'm going to deviate away from music for a second because I'm curious to know, what do you guys, like, outside of music and something maybe your fans may not know and the audience may not know, what are some of the things that you guys like to do you know, in your spare time, some of your hobbies or interests, you know, some add a little flavor to it. So
Take it away, Nick. He just whispered nothing, but I know he's more interesting than that. I like video games, movies. I don't know. I'm pretty simple. Me, a big video game nerd. I mean, me and my brother, you know, he introduced me to Nintendo when I was 3 years old, and we were playing Mega Man and all that from, you know, before I learned how to read. I was playing Mega Man. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. No, I've recently picked up bicycling. Really love riding my bike around Boston. That's why I do that a lot of my free time. It's also how I get to work. It definitely cuts down on the time and annoyance of taking the train. So that's been me.
Yeah, I'm a big nerd.
Runs
I was playing video games before I was doing anything else, you know. But yeah, I love gaming. I love Resident Evil, which is like my. I know that sounds like perfect product placement.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I didn't. Fun fact.
Yeah.
I didn't know who his brother was until probably about a month ago.
Yeah.
And he told me, and I was like, "You didn't tell me your brother was literally Leon Kennedy." I was like, "Don't do that to me every day." But yeah, gaming, relaxing, and hanging out with my friends. That's what I do mostly. You know, driving around, listening to music. That's my day to day.
He had a moment where it was the 4th of July gig. We had our first gig after writing the album, and Nick went to that gig, and you kind of have like a fanboy moment.
Yeah.
I was way too scared to go up and talk to him. I was just like, I can't just go up and talk to Leon Kennedy.
Coaxed him over there.
He's a really come to find out. 20 minutes. Anyways, enough about me. It's Jason.
I like sports and then music, and that's about me. I mean, I come home and I either write or listen to music or watch a football game or a baseball game and go to bed and do it all over again.
Would it be sacrilegious for me to ask what your favorite team is? For the sports you like?
Right. Nobody's gonna like what you have to say about sports.
I got to turn off the Patriots game because it was such a brutal beat down. I didn't even care. The Bruins and then the Celtics to a lesser extent.
Yeah. The Patriots will probably get you in trouble more than anything.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT.
We can do the stereotypical Boston accents.
Oh, yeah.
It's wicked.
It's wicked awesome.
Wicked awesome.
All right, Sean.
I mean, yeah, I like all the same stuff that they all do. I think that's why we all get along so well together. I mean, you know, big sports fan, go Bruins, they're coming back soon. But yeah, I mean, you know, just the fact we have all these similar interests means that we're able to do what we do so well.
We also, a lot of us, or all of us, really love roast beef.
You started that sentence, and I was like, he's going to bring a beer.
There's a specific style of roast beef that is like super specific to Boston and the North Shore of Boston.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
It's on a seeded hamburger bun
Or onion.
or
Or an
on
onion
for
roll.
a super beef. It's on an onion roll.
I cannot believe we're talking
What? I need to know about this. What is this?
It brought us together in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. You know, and it's just got a distinct barbecue style. If you look it up, I mean, North Shore beef,
James River barbecue sauce.
James River.
Yep.
It's
Come visit and
great.
try it.
Yeah, you gotta come out here now.
Okay.
We'll show you. We'll take down the tour.
Show you a good time.
Go
Awesome. My last question, I promise this is my last question. I'm not going to lie again. So my last question is for the audience that wants to get into music, or they want to create a band, or put out an album. What advice would you give to the audience from your own experiences?
The best. Well, let me preface this with a little background. I'm a teacher when I'm not playing. I teach private guitar lessons, and I also teach young preschool classes.
Mm-hmm.
So what I tell a lot of my students who, they come into me and they hear that I'm playing in a band and I'm recording, and they're always, when I was their age, this all felt unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like a fantasy. It felt like something only like, Led Zeppelin or Aerosmith or Queen would do, And the advice I always give them is that it's never impossible. What it's going to take is it's going to take work. It's going to take bona fide diligence, sitting down in your room and practicing. But it's also going to take, being kind to the people around you and being outgoing with people and just kind of accepting people with open arms, because if I was any more bashful than I am, I wouldn't have ended up in this position or half the positions I've found myself in, or that anyone that finds himself in like this,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the piece de resistance of the advice I can give is just don't stop. Don't quit. Don't get discouraged. Don't let yourself get in your own way. Be your biggest fan, especially when you don't have any yet. Be your biggest fan and push yourself over that edge.
I would say also, on top of not quitting, I would say start.
Yeah.
There's whatever thing that you want to do, whether it's music or anything that's a passion that you want to make into your work, you just got to do it. And the more that you do it, the better you'll get, the more people that you'll meet. And just the more that you're putting that out there, things kind of work themselves out. And I think before people even get to a point where they have the opportunity to quit, it's hard enough to even start because it seems like such a lofty thing. But
Mm-hmm.
when you break it down to like the day-to-day, if you just make it part of your lifestyle and just something that you do, good things are going to come and you're going to develop. So just do it,
Yeah.
And if you have that genuine kind of approach to it where you're not just thinking about like being on the stage and like receiving the awards, and you're doing it just because it's something that you want to do, good things are going to follow.
I have kind of two quick things of like, one, don't be afraid to be persistent. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Freshman year of college, I basically broke down Dave and Jake's door to like try and get them. And they might I think they'd said that they thought I was just a weirdo.
I just wanted them to leave.
Yeah, you just wanted me to leave. But they're stuck with me for the time being. And second is more just don't be afraid to try different things.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, like when we first started, I played piano first. I played saxophone. I liked them, didn't love them. I played guitar. I wasn't that great at it, and so I switched over to the bigger guitar that works for my bigger hands, and wound up playing bass. So if you want to get into music, there's too many instruments out there for there not to be one that you can play.
Definitely. And well, I lied. I have one final question.
All right.
Did you guys have fun?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Lots.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I got to say, I mean, what more could you ask for?
We've talked about beef, music, and Resident Evil. Like, what else?
Wow, what a great descriptor of us.
Yeah.
First of all, the music isn't the first thing.
Yeah.
Was beef the first one?
Yeah. In that list of three things.
Yeah.
Beef, music, and Resident
But yeah,
Oh.
this was awesome.
Evil. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Really
for having
appreciate
us on
having
the
us
podcast.
on.
Seriously, this
It was great.
so much fun.
Yeah, anytime, man, anytime. I definitely would love to have you guys back on the podcast again. And, hopefully the next time we do this podcast, I can get you guys out here in Hawaii and we could do it in person, at one of the studios. It would be awesome to have you out here. I do mean that. I literally do mean that. I would love to have you guys performing out here in Hawaii. You would get such an audience because there's a lot of us out here that love your music. And I I mean that.
I think
Thank
I think after next week we can make that happen.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
We can start planning that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, man.
Yeah, and with that being said, go ahead and tell people where they can find you again on social media and your website, and then I'll leave links to everything in the description of the podcast down below.
Yeah, so everything will be centralized at somersetband.com. You can find videos, links to the music, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, links to show ticket links, information pages, all that kind of stuff, individual bios, literally any news that's going on with us. We'll be keeping updated, and somersetband.com.
And also, don't forget, keep your eyes and ears out on the 24th of September for Somerset's debut record, Somerset. That'll be available on all major streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Napster. if people
Napster's still around.
Yeah,
which
people still
shocks me.
use Napster.
I was shocked by that. I was like, wait, Napster?
Cover all the bases.
Yeah.
All right, and with that being said, people, leave links to everything down in the description below, the links to their website, the social media, and please definitely go and support and you know, just get this album because it's truly phenomenal. I haven't heard the whole thing, but I've heard 2 songs and I'm sold already. And you guys know I don't recommend bullshit to you. This is quality. This is craft. This is just, you know, and now I'm hungry because now I want to go and get this beef with the onion roll. You know, it's like 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, do I want breakfast or do I want lunch? Now I need to catch a flight out to Boston just so I can go and get this.
Love it.
We'll do it.
So you'll be able to catch this podcast available on all podcasting outlets. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, coming soon to Podcast One as well as Sirius XM Radio. And it's also syndicated out here on all islands out here in Hawaii, as well as Samoa, Tonga, Tahiti, and New Zealand. So with that being said, this is Mekel Kasanova. I'm with the band Somerset, and we are signing out. We'll see you guys. Hey, did you enjoy this episode of the Kasanova Podcast? Well, I'm sure you did. And since you did, and you're wondering where else you can find it on every podcasting outlet. Yes, that includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Launchpad DM by Podcast One, and so much more. And the only thing I ask of you is if you truly enjoyed it, even if you didn't enjoy it, please leave a rating and tell us what you thought of it, what you like, what you didn't like, and everything in between. And also, if you're looking for video formats of this podcast and many more, you'll be able to find them on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova, as well as on twitch.tv/Mekel Kasanova, and new episodes every single Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, with that being said, this is Mekel Kasanova, Hawaii's favorite YouTuber. I am signing out. You guys have a great one.